what is your business goal in terms of the impact that you want to make with your content, and be authentic to that. If you're saying right now we're ramping up our recruitment to increase the number of diverse candidates that we get and the number of diverse hires that we have, and we want our content to reflect that. If that is your goal, and that's what you're setting up your outcome to be, then stick with that and be authentic in that narrative. If you want to focus on your current employees and make sure that the learning is reflective of who they are, and feels more inclusive to them at the current state, then make content that is reflective of your employees. In fact, use imagery from your actual workplace instead of sourcing outside content. But be authentic in your approach and align it to that bottom goal. Like what is your intention there? If there's no clear intention, and you're just doing things to do things and you haven't communicated that, and there's also ways to express both perspectives, right? Like our goal is to have a more, like, you can have a disclaimer or a note in your content that says we are working on increasing the representation of our staff to 20% diversity by this date, and you'll see that reflected here, right? And letting the learner know that that's why you've chosen that number of diversity in there, so that they're aware. Or acknowledging and owning your gaps. Like, we recognize that this content doesn't feature as many diverse individuals, and this is why, because whatever, X, Y, and Z. So there are ways to be authentic in why you're doing what you're doing. And then also, I would say, get feedback from the learner. You never want to put out content that's not going to be impactful. The point of producing learning content is to increase performance, right? It's to make sure that our employees and our teams and our audiences respond well to that content. If they are not responding well to the content, there's a gap there. And maybe the gap is around building that awareness and helping them to understand why and your motivations. And maybe that gap is just not landing well. And you have to be honest about that as well.